The Sentinelese are among the last uncontacted people in the world, and almost everything we know about them has come from distant observations, because they have always rejected outsiders and do not allow anyone to enter their land. They are believed to be direct descendants of some of the earliest humans who migrated out of Africa tens of thousands of years ago, and their physical appearance, language, and traditions remain unique to them, with no reliable records of their spoken words or cultural practices available to researchers. The population of the Sentinelese is estimated to be anywhere between 50 and 200 individuals, though no exact census is possible due to their isolation. Their lifestyle is based entirely on hunting, gathering, and fishing, while also hunting small animals and catching fish using simple weapons such as bows, arrows. They do not appear to practice farming, and there is no evidence of domesticated animals. The tribe is fiercely protective of its land and responds to almost every outsider with hostility. In the year 2018, a young American adventurer and missionary named John Allen Chow, who had been deeply inspired by his religious faith and carried within him a strong desire to spread the message of Christianity to remote and isolated communities, embarked on a journey as he set his sights on North Sentinel Island, a mysterious and heavily protected place in the Bay of Bengal, where the Sentinelese people, considered one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth, lived in isolation. And despite repeated warnings from the Indian authorities about the dangers of approaching the island due to both legal restrictions, Chow secretly arranged with a group of local fishermen to help him reach the shores, and as he stepped onto the forbidden sands, he attempted to communicate with gestures, words, and songs, trying desperately to share his faith. But his presence was met with anger and aggression. Arrows were fired, and though he returned briefly to the fishermen to regroup, the Sentinelese responded as they always had to intruders, with lethal force, and Chow was ultimately killed on the island, his body never recovered. North Sentinel Island, a small yet heavily mysterious landmass that lies deep within the waters of the Bay of Bengal in the eastern Indian Ocean. The history of North Sentinel Island is one of isolation and survival, and unlike most places in the world, it has remained almost completely untouched by the changes that shaped human civilization elsewhere. Anthropologists suggest that the ancestors of the Sentinelese may have first arrived in the Andaman Islands tens of thousands of years ago, making them one of the most ancient and continuous human groups still living today. For most of this time, the island remained hidden from outside interest. But that changed in the late 18th century when British explorers began charting the Andaman Islands, but avoided landing because of the hostile reactions of the islanders. During the colonial era, when the British established a large penal settlement in the nearby Andamans, expeditions were occasionally sent to the island, and in some cases, individuals were taken against their will to study their language and culture. After India gained independence, the government continued limited efforts to establish contact, especially in the 1970s and 1980s, when anthropologists and officials from the Anthropological Survey of India visited the island several times, sometimes leaving coconuts, bananas, and bits of metal as gifts. The Sentinelese accepted these items, but more often they responded with weapons, making it clear that they wanted no further intrusion. By the 1990s, after repeated failures and increasing awareness that even brief interactions risked exposing the tribe to modern illnesses, the Indian government changed its policy and ended direct contact programs, declaring the island and its surrounding waters a protected zone where entry is strictly forbidden without permission. This step has effectively frozen the history of North Sentinel Island in place, leaving the Sentinelese as one of the very few communities on Earth who continue to live as their ancestors did thousands of years ago, without farming, electricity, or modern technology.